I've made a few videos on Pokemon Postgames at this point, but this one really was the one that made me want to sit in a corner and rock back and forth. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were pretty outlandish remakes for the Hoenn region, and probably the most outlandish thing about them is the postgame section known as Delta Episode. Obviously there's more to the postgame than just this, but the Delta Episode is what I want to hone in on today, because it's kinda heavy, so let's take a walk through it. We open in with an instant feeling of urgency. Usually there's sort of a peaceful overtone to the opening segment of a Pokemon postgame. In fact, when I record the footage for them, I always name the Part 1 file Postgame Pleasantries. There's nothing pleasant going on here though, as we're quickly alerted to the fact that a huge asteroid is on a direct collision course with Hoenn. Oh. Of course, this is the kind of impending doom only an underage Pokemon trainer can thwart, so we head out to investigate. And this is where we meet the most impactful character within this Delta episode, Zinnia. She is a very mysterious character who claims to be a lawkeeper of a people called the Draconids. I hope I'm saying that right. To headline news it, the Draconids are an ancient tribe of dragon-type trainers in the Hoenn region, originally residing in Meteor Falls. And Zinnia is very enigmatic. There's a lot of cryptic dialogue that comes from her, but she definitely drummed up a lot of intrigue in my mind. Also, this isn't the first time we see her, by the way. She does make a couple of small appearances during the base game, disguised as one of the evil team's grunts. Although as I mentioned, her character is so ambiguous that if you were detail oriented enough, then you probably closed out of the base game thinking, what even was her role in all of this? That's explained here. She comes off as an antagonist at first though, as our first exposure to her in the Delta episode is seeing her steal keystones from other characters. Keystones being the thing we have on our wrist that gives us the ability to Mega Evolve. Team Magma/Aqua are also seen to be trying to steal Wally's keystone, so it sort of baits us into thinking that they're still linked in some way, but actually the evil team just want the keystones for general evil activities. We've destroyed their plans with the Primal Legendary, but they're still around, plotting other schemes. We're then summoned to Devoncourt by Steven, where we learn that the Space Center in Moss Deep City is preparing a rocket to destroy the meteor that's on a collision course with Earth, but that it requires a special meteorite shard that can only be found over in Granite Cave. This ties into the war in Kalos 3,000 years ago, as we learn that the overwhelming power of the ultimate weapon inspired Devoncourt to create something known as Infinity Energy, which they're using to power the rockets they launch from Moss Deep Space Center. But they need this shard and the cosmic energy that lies within it to stop this asteroid. So off to Granite Cave we go, and who's hanging out in there? It's Zinnia again, who gives us a couple of extra nuggets of info on the meteorite shard and its connection to a legendary Pokemon from above. Then she battles us. And Game Freak really went in with the feral, ancient tribe member vibe here. But upon winning this battle, Zinnia gives us the meteorite shard we came here looking for, and cryptically starts pondering on truths and ideals. This isn't mentioned again, so I think it was just a casual Unova callback. But for a moment there, I thought we were going to swerve in a whole different direction. Okay, so meteorite shard in hand, we can head to the Moss Deep Space Center, where plans are well underway for this rocket to try and save us all, and Professor Cosmo is explaining the science behind how this technology works. But then Zinnia shows herself once again, and implores the Space Center to rethink their approach to this problem. Again though, pretty cryptic and ambiguous. We're then tasked with getting an even purer meteorite shard that's apparently still required, this time from Meteor Falls. At this point, I'm definitely starting to get a little tired of the constant flying between locations. This is starting to feel like a fetch quest simulator. And yeah, the Delta episode is basically padded out with these quests. It feels like this is how the game is segmenting the dialogue, as a means to stop it from being just one big novel of text. Meteor Falls took me a while to navigate my way through, by the way. I got very lost in there. Doesn't take much for me though, I'll be honest. But when we do find our way into the deeper corners of the cave, we're acquainted with one of the elder members of the Draconids, who recounts the legend of Rayquaza, who would save the land from disaster time after time, using energy from a powerful stone that allowed it to transform into a heightened state. Which, sounds a lot like Mega Evolution. and that actually Mega Evolution was discovered as a result of humans' encounter with Rayquaza. She also tells us that Zinnia is a trusted lawkeeper who has inherited the knowledge to summon Rayquaza whenever huge disasters threaten the Pokemon world. This is where the pieces fall into place, and we start to understand what the deal is with Zinnia. She's trying to call upon Rayquaza to extinguish this asteroid threat, and she sort of infiltrated and joined forces with the evil team in the base game in hopes that helping them reawaken the box legendary would also help call upon Rayquaza, because this isn't the first time Earth has been threatened this way. But I had the same thoughts as Steven here in that that's pretty risky, right? Allowing these ancient powers to reawaken and potentially cause untold destruction for the chance of also re-summoning Rayquaza. But I guess that was a necessary risk in her eyes, even if it means, as this Elder Draconid says, the sacrificial blade is leveled at her own heart. Yeah, I mentioned this is going to get kinda heavy. This starts to get pretty philosophical. But then as we finish up, she calls Steven a silver-haired dreamboat, so we're immediately back on an even keel. And we're immediately back to bouncing around locations again for a bit. We go back to Rustboro, where we fight a few Aquagrunts. They're back to stealing machine parts again apparently. Then back over to Moss Deep Space Center to confront them. One of their admins, Matt, has taken things into his own hands following Arch's defeat. Can I just say, by the way, he is massive. Like, he looks as tall as AZ in X and Y. Anyway, after taking them down here, Zinnia appears once again, and crushes the dimensional shift part needed for the rocket. She posits that using it could potentially save this world, but cause utter destruction in another. This is a direct reference to the original Pokemon timeline, it seems. That this dimensional shifter could simply divert the destruction to another timeline. That's how I read it anyway. If you thought differently, please do let me know in the comments. Zinnia finishes by stealing Matt's keystone and scurrying away to Team Aqua's hideout to grab the other one in their possession. We gotta go back here again. We've even got to battle our way through the hideout again. The Pokemon are higher leveled, but still lower than most of the Elite Four's Pokemon. I forgot my way through this place as well, so it took me ages to find my way through to Zinnia. And Archie's here too, who gives us his Megastone. Apparently he has no further need for it. With the last keystone in hand, Zinnia heads off to Sky Pillar. But first, we're going to go back to the Space Center again, where Steven tells us to go to Sutopolis to meet Wallace, who can then grant us entry to Sky Pillar. This is so much needless flying around to fill time. I swear I've used the Fly HM more during this post-game segment than I did during my entire playthrough of the base game. This is just comical at this point. But we've reached our final destination here. After one final battle with Wallace to prove that we're worthy, even though we are literally the champion of the region at this point, inside, Zinnia enlightens us with some more ancient legendary lore within this Hoenn region, chunk by chunk as we climb the structure, along with some more detailed mythology about the Draconid people. I do feel like it could have been a bit more visual, like we just get the same wall paintings with each piece of exposition. It gives off a slight feeling of reading from a textbook instead of experiencing the story. But I suppose it does its job. It is a good story, just not hands-on in any way. At the top of the pillar, Zinnia successfully calls upon the legendary Pokemon Rayquaza. But initially the keystones she gathered aren't enough to transform it into its Mega form. By the way, Mega Anklet? Way cooler than Mega Bracelet. Only when it swallows the meteorite we're carrying does it regain its full power. We're then trusted with catching Rayquaza, and riding it into space? I don't know why it needs us riding on the back of it to stop the meteorite, but here we go. This is a really cool cutscene though, one of the best in the franchise. Nothing's quite hit the same for me since some of Scarlet and Violet's down in Area Zero. This is incredible for the Nintendo 3DS era though. Destroying the meteor reveals the force that was causing it to swerve and change trajectory. It's Deoxys, which gives us our first taste of Mega Rayquaza's powers in action. And then that's it. We've saved the planet and peace has been restored to Hoenn. We get a fair chunk of closing dialogue from all the different characters we've interacted with throughout the Delta episode, which I liked a lot. And man, they had to play on my heartstrings again by once again closing out with a heartfelt interaction with our rival. I love this. That final line where they're like, hey, see you tomorrow. That sort of, it isn't goodbye, it's just good night sentiment. It's like a movie playing my favourite song during the credits. The film could be absolutely terrible, but now you've hit me in the feels right at the end. So none of that matters now I love it. But let's try and wrap this up with a level head. The Delta episode has a really interesting premise, and a really epic conclusion. I don't know though, it kind of feels like it was punching for something a bit bigger than it delivered. The whole constantly jumping from one place to another made it feel like a real goose chase at times as well. But I am a sucker for story, and I love the myth-laden nature of what we're doing here. Zinnia is a character I kinda want more from. The Delta episode did a good job of keeping me on the edge of my seat, wanting to delve deeper into this character, and the Draconid people in general. I like the almost history versus science conflict going on, this narrative of old methods over modern technology. That was super thought-provoking. Deoxys felt a little tacked on at the end, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was any mention of the meteor containing another Pokemon. Oh, unless that's part of the reason why Zinnia knew the rocket wouldn't work. Have I just figured that out right at the end here? This isn't part of the script, hang on. This could be a pure spontaneous headcanon, but could Zinnia have been trying to call upon Rayquaza because she knew this was Deoxys coming to Earth? I'm just riffing here, so I'm not going to put any real weight into this. Instead, let me know what you thought of the Delta episode. It's definitely something. A very hard-hitting post-game quest, but also maybe a bit underdeveloped in places. I want to hear what you guys have to say though, so please do drop all your musings down in the comments below. Let me know anything I've missed, because I always miss something somehow. While you're down there, please drop a like on the video, that helps more than you think. Subscribe for more Pokemon videos, join the Discord if you'd like to. Take it easy, and I'll catch you all in the next one.